Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Hare Jaya Radha Kalachandji Radha Kalachandji Shri Radhe Jaya Radha Govinda Radha Govinda Shri Radhe Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Shri Radha Madhava Ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Hare Krishna. We will begin with an invocation. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayat. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nashta prayesha bhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam, ending of service of the pure devotee is almost completely destroyed. Loving service into the personality of Godhead. As to the chairs of the sons, irrevocable fact. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkest of ignorance. My spiritual master opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. Offer my respectful obeisances unto him. Try. Alright, so today we will be reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, and this is the second to last class on the 5th canto. So we are wrapping up with all the planets, and we're going to kind of a little bit of an unpleasant topic, but we're talking about the hellish planets today. And tomorrow... Huh? Yeah, so the next class is going to do the rest of the hellish planets. So we got 2 days of hell. So I'll almost give like a warm-up for tomorrow's deep dive into hell. So, yeah, as we've said, today is the description of the hellish planets. So we're going to, let's see. We will skip the summary and go to text 1, because we're not really going to cover that section today. So kind of the context here is we just went all over the universe, and now we're going back to we're going to the lower planetary systems. So we talked about the subterranean heavenly planets, we talked about Lord Ananta, and now we're talking about the hellish planets. Do we have a mic?
Text 1. King Parikshit inquired from Shukadev Goswami, "My dear sir, why are the living entities put into different material situations? Kindly explain this to me."
So this is a very intelligent question from King Parikshit. This is a question that often is unanswered in other faiths. It's often attributed to chance and randomness, and God works in mysterious ways, but this is what makes our philosophy a science, is that there is no randomness in bhakti. There is no, things just happen because that's the way it happens, and God burned down this whole village and like, oh, whoopsie, it's scientifically explained here. Next text, please.
The great sage Sukadeva Goswami said, "My dear king, in this material world there are three kinds of activities, those in the mode of goodness, the mode of passion, and the mode of ignorance. Because all people are influenced by the three modes of material nature, the results of their activities are also divided into three. One who acts in the mode of goodness is religious and happy. One who acts in passion achieves mixed misery and happiness. And one who acts under the influence of ignorance is always unhappy and lives like an animal. Because of the varying degrees to which the living entities are influenced by the different modes of nature, their destinations are also of different varieties."
All right. Pretty clear. Next text.
Just as by executing various pious activities, one achieves different positions in heavenly life, by acting impiously, one achieves different position in hellish life. Those who are activated by the material mode of ignorance engage in impious activities, and according to the extent of their ignorance, they are placed in different grades of hellish life. If one acts in the mode of ignorance because of madness, his resulting misery is the least severe. One who acts impiously but knows the distinction between pious and impious activities is placed in a hell of intermediate severity. And for one who acts impiously and ignorantly because of atheism, the resultant hellish life is the worst. Because of ignorance, every living entity has been carried by various desires into thousands of different hellish planets since time immemorial. I shall try to describe them as far as possible.
Yes, so again, we're seeing that it's not so black and white. We'll read a lot of descriptions about, if you do this, you get this many years and this condition for this amount of time. And while it is scientific, it's also, like has been explained in these past two texts, there's gradations, there's variations. So depending on, the system is fair, basically. What we might read today is, or more so what we'll read tomorrow, is very shocking. It's very appalling and can be horrifying to read about. But we have to also keep in mind that, at least in the material sphere, this is considered fair. This is the system of karma. No one is being cheated through this. All right, next text, please.
Text 4. King Parikshit inquired from Shukadeva Goswami, "My dear Lord, are the hellish regions outside the universe, within the covering of the universe, or in different places on this planet?"
The great sage Sukadeva Goswami answered, "All the hellish planets are situated in the intermediate space between the three worlds as the Garbhodoka ocean. They lie on the southern side of the universe, beneath Bhumandala, and slightly above the water of the Garbhodoka ocean. Pitraloka is also located in this region between the Garbhodoka ocean and the lower planetary systems. All the residents of Pitraloka, headed by Agnisvata, meditate in great samadhi on the Supreme Personality of Godhead and always wish their families well.
All right, next. Or actually, we'll read the purport. The texts 5 and 6 are the only texts with purports today, so we'll just read them both. Let's read the purport. Jaisha, can you read the purport?
As previously explained, below our planetary system are 7 lower planetary systems, the lowest of which is Patala Loka. Beneath Patala Loka are other planets known as Naraka Loka, or the hellish planets. At the bottom of the universe lies the Garbhodaka ocean. Therefore, the hellish planets lie between Patala Loka and Garbhodaka ocean.
Okay. And then this is our last text for today. Yeah, it's in prose. So Jai Shri Radha Kalachandji. Alright, can someone read this last text, please?
The king of the Pittas is Yamaraj, the very powerful son of the sun god. He resides in Pitraloka with his personal assistants, and while abiding by the rules and regulations set down by the Supreme Lord, he has his agents, the Yamadutas, bring all the sinful men to him immediately upon their death. After bringing them within his jurisdiction, he properly judges them according to their specific sinful activities and sends them to one of the many hellish planets for suitable punishments.
4. Yamaraj is not a fictitious or mythological character. He has his own abode, Pitraloka, of which he is king. Agnostics may not believe in hell, but Shukadev Goswami affirms the existence of the Naraka planets, which lie between the Garbhodaka ocean and Patala Loka. Yamaraj is appointed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead to see that the human beings do not violate his rules and regulations, as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 4.17. Karmano hyapi bodhavyam cha vikarmana akarmanascha bodhavyam gahana karmanogati. The intricacies of action are very hard to understand. Therefore, one should know properly what action is, what forbidden action is, and what inaction is. One should understand the nature of karma, vikarma, and akarma, and one must act accordingly. This is the law of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The conditioned souls who have come to this material world for sense gratification are allowed to enjoy their senses under certain regulative principles. If they violate these regulations, they are judged and punished by Yamaraj. He brings them to the hellish planets and properly chastises them to bring them back to Krishna consciousness. By the influence of Maya, however, the conditioned souls remain infatuated with the mode of ignorance. Thus, in spite of repeated punishment by Yamaraj, they do not come to their senses, but continue to live within the material condition, committing sinful activities again and again. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So, first off, we're going to kind of look at kind of the process of going to hell. So, first is association with the mode of ignorance and the mode of passion. And it might be hard to see, but we have certain depictions here. Someone is cheating someone else, stealing their wealth. Someone is killing the animals back here. Someone is murdering some woman, and different horrible activities. So all across the world this is happening. The world is actually in such a terrible state right now. And we can understand that this is actually going to be the fate of a lot of people that we see around us, is that they are, frying the animals in oil, and that they are plundering the wealth of others, that they are cheating others. And so this can make us feel compassionate for them. We will continue to the next part. So, when they're leaving their body, they will see these fearsome and horrifying creatures. I have a friend once who said that he was drinking so much, and he slept for something like 26 hours, and he had a vision of these gigantic dark forms walking outside of his room, and he later came to Krishna consciousness and understood those to be the Yamadutas. that they were fearsome, and they had this wiry copper-like hair and these burning red eyes. And so what they do is they grab the soul, they grab the subtle body, and they rip him out from the physical body with these ropes and these chains, and they drag him to the court of Yamaraj. And this dragging to the court of Yamaraj is described in the end of the 4th canto. Let's see. Oh, spoilers. Okay, I didn't have the picture. But as he's grabbed, he's being dragged extremely quickly. It's like he's traveling like perhaps at the speed of light or something like that. Extremely quickly, he's being forcefully dragged, and the animals which he hurt throughout his life are tearing him apart and scratching at him. And then he arrives at the court of Yamaraj. And so this character looks like someone, I don't know if it's meant to look like Einstein. I hope it's not. I don't know. I don't want to think about that. But this is where Yamaraj resides, is Pitraloka. Who here knew that Yamaraj lived in Pitraloka? Because I did not. Yeah, Jaishnav knew. Jai, scholarly. So here Yamaraj and all his attendants, or what do you call it? They've written down the activities, the sins of the person sent to be punished. We have a big Yamaduta here. They're pretty scary. You don't really want to mess with them. And then they decide the fate of this soul. And so the Srimad Bhagavatam, this is very graphic, but the Srimad Bhagavatam has these BBT paintings, these images of what happens to the living entities. This is kind of a spoiler for tomorrow's class, so I'm sorry, Ajit. But it's actually really, really terrible and horrible things that are happening here. Drinking molten iron and being burned by iron, and let's see. And then for cooking the animals alive, similarly, there is a pot of boiling oil, and they are fried for a very long time, also embracing a molten form. So I'm going to get off of this graphic imagery just to... they never die. That's another thing. Yeah. And there's this whole chapter. I'm not sure if you want to read every single text tomorrow. We might go through every single text tomorrow. But it describes these very graphic, these very terrible and horrifying things which happen to the conditioned souls. I remember when I first read this section, it was a page turner. You can't really put it down once you start. You're like, what? And you almost want to see did I do anything that could have justified these? And yeah, for a lot of us, for most of us, honestly, without Krishna consciousness, we could see ourselves in situations like that, and we have been in these situations before. We can see that the subtle body, it's traumatized by these conditions that we've been in. We've probably been to these planets several times. So when the soul hears this section of Srimad Bhagavatam, perhaps the soul goes, oh, this is very familiar, you know. Yeah, I remember the tree, and when they yank me down the tree. But another thing that we can meditate on, or that we can look at, I guess two main points, is that hell is, or any kind of suffering, it is almost like a movie theater, you know. You're the soul, and you're sitting in the theater, you have your popcorn, and on the screen, let's say you're watching a horror movie, And so, have you guys ever experienced this where you watch a scary movie and you invest yourself into the character? You invest yourself into whatever terrifying things are happening on the screen. That's what the soul experiences. And this hell, you could say, it's both very literal. It's both a physical place. It's a location. And then it's also metaphorical. It's also subtle. It's described that, I believe, Prabhupada Priya gave this class on the descent of the Ganges. And so there, Kapila Muni, he's meditating, and these sons, they've been looking for the horse for so long, and they come to Kapila Muni, and they're so angry. And they, often it's depicted that Kapila Muni burns them with his eyes. But actually, it's their own hatred within their heart. It's their own fire which ignites their bodies and burns them to ashes. So this hell, it's actually a state of consciousness of the living entity. It, while they may not have actually, I believe they were in the hellish planets. They were in some lower planets at that time, but the real hell was in their own perception, in their own hatred. And similarly, we said, what does the devotee call hell? Does anyone know what is hell to the devotee? Separation from Krishna? Anything more specific? Forgetfulness of Krishna? Vijaypuru? The absence of devotional service? Absence of devotees. So specifically what I've heard a lot is merging. Merging is likened to hell, Narakeshu. So we see that, while it may look graphic, it may look terrifying, it may look so scary, the devotee, they see merging as more scary than the hellish planets. They actually say, my Lord, I will go to the hellish planets if you desire, Does anyone know a story which exemplifies this?
The gopis.
The gopis
making tilak for Krishna. Should I tell it? Or you want to tell it?
If you want, yeah, you can tell it.
So,
but you have to be very dramatic with it.
Oh my gosh. Well, I'll forget some details. Who was it that was going to ask, or Krishna had a headache, first of all. And he asked, who? Was it Narada Muni? Who was it? He asked Narada Muni to find someone to, he needed the dust from the feet of his devotees in order to make his headache go away. He had to smear that dust on his head. So he asked Narada Muni to go find some devotees to give him the dust from their feet so that Krishna's headache could go away. So Narada Muni goes to all of these different devotees. Who are some devotees that he goes to?
The Brahmanas.
The Brahmanas, and who else? The demigods. He goes to so many different devotees and he asks, and all of them they say, oh my gosh, I cannot do that for, I'll go to hell if I put the dust from my feet on Krishna's head. That's the worst sin ever. He's God. He's the Supreme Personality. I'm nothing. I can't do it. Finally, he even goes to the wives in Dwarka, to Krishna's wives in Dwarka, and they can't do it. They didn't feel comfortable doing it. So finally he goes to the gopis of Vrindavan and he says, Krishna has a headache. He needs the dust from your feet. And the gopis of Vrindavan go, Krishna has a headache? Oh my gosh. They start rubbing their feet all over the ground, kicking up as much dust as they can. So much dust, actually, that to this day there's a place that you can go and put that dust and use it to make tilak, which most of us in this room have on our foreheads right now. And they said, Narada Muni said, aren't you afraid that you'll go to hell if you do this? He said, hell schmel. I'll go anywhere. If Krishna has a headache, I have to help him, get rid of his headache. So they did.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Jai, thank you. That was great. Yeah, so we're seeing that, it's actually not something to be so afraid of for the devotee or for the spirit soul, period. It's actually, it's just another sensation of the flesh, you could say. Just like a cold shower, But, yeah, in a sense, the soul is untouched from these things. The soul is pure. Then also, back to kind of a more realistic perspective, hell is actually a very serious, very scary, and very terrifying place. And so, as someone who's compassionate, we should try to help those around us. It's actually considered violence to not help someone in their Krishna consciousness, because this is the fate of someone who is hurting the animals. This is the fate of someone who is cheating others. This is the fate of someone who, it even says in some of these passages, if you're a householder and you glare at your guests as if to burn them, then birds of prey will attack your eyes. So even, there's a lot of sins, some people might think, oh, I haven't killed anyone, I haven't done this or that. But still there's many ways in which we are messing up, even hurting the ants beneath our feet. So really we need Krishna consciousness. And others around us, they need Krishna consciousness, or else this will be, I don't want to sound fanatical or fire and brimstone, but that is the destination of one without Krishna consciousness, is that they will have to have what is fair. They will have to have the reactions of what they've done. And hopefully, that the system is that this is meant to rectify the living entity so that they will, in the future, control their senses more. Yet we still have this last sentence: in spite of repeated punishment by Yamaraj, they do not come to their senses, but continue to live within the material condition, committing sinful activities again and again. So it's a very pitiable situation of the living entity. Does anyone know a story of someone who was destined for hell and how they avoided it? Ajamila, yes. So, sometimes we might think, perhaps this person is too far gone. Maybe they I would be very surprised if this person took to Krishna consciousness in this lifetime. And that's how many people felt about Ajamil. He neglected his parents, he threw his wife out, and he was a stealer, a murderer, and things like that. Yet at the end of his life, he chanted the name of Narayan. And I was hearing in one of these Bhagavatam classes a little while ago, there was this commentary that saying, if Ajamil was pure at the end of his life by chanting Narayan, why wasn't he pure throughout the whole time his son was named Narayan? And so then it was said that he actually was pure just by chanting the name of Narayan. So simply by kirtan, simply by chanting the holy names, immediately we are purified of our sinful reactions. And we can come to Krishna consciousness. Still though, we try not to sin more. We try not to commit the 7th offense to the holy name, which is committing sinful activities on the strength of chanting. So Krishna wants to see us improve our behavior. He doesn't want to just see us as he doesn't want us to just see him as a get out of jail free card, So that's kind of what I had today, is firstly that we should be compassionate to the living entities around us, and we should be worried for them. We should read this and we should see, that person in the oil, and we should say, I really don't want this to happen to any of my friends. I really don't want this to happen to any of my, coworkers or my extended family or things like that. And then secondly, we can also not be afraid, not be freaked out by this, knowledge because it's just another condition of the soul. This whole material world is already a prison. This whole material world is already hell. And even merging is considered to be like hell. So we don't have to be afraid of this. And we can, we'll follow Krishna anywhere, even if he wants us to preach in the hellish planets. Any discussion points, thoughts, comments, questions? Dustin Peru.
Hare Krishna, Drishta. Prabhu, do we have to leave planet Earth to have some more of a hellish experience?
Do we have to leave planet Earth to have a hellish experience? What do you think?
I think hell could be inside of the mind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's kind of what we talked about earlier. That the mind can turn heaven into hell, and then can also turn hell into heaven. So, how do you think we change our mind from turning heaven into hell and hell into heaven?
Association with devotees and coming to the temple and japa.
Mm-hmm. And then specifically, there's one quality which can turn hell into heaven. Does anyone know what quality that would be? Remembering Krishna? Okay. Mother Kunti said if we're remembering Krishna. Anyone else? Paramita? Gratitude, yeah. So, the millionaire in the mansion, if he's not grateful for anything he has, he'll be miserable. Mother Urmila, she talks about this analogy. Let's say you go to the store and you buy something. Let's say you buy a bag of chips for $20. You come home and then your brother says, dude, you spent $20 for that bag of chips? Like, I literally got it for $2. And suddenly you feel so much resentfulness towards this bag of chips. And you're like, I deserve so much better. I got cheated, and you're upset. And then, in the inverse, if you come home and you got this bag of chips for $2 and your brother is like, dude, I spent $20. How did you get that? You feel so happy about that. You feel so like, oh, wow, what a good deal. So this is a very mundane example, but we should feel that way about spiritual life. If we take spiritual life for granted, we will be upset. If we think, oh, I deserve more of Krishna's mercy. I deserve more recognition in my service, things like that. That's how we create a hellish condition in the mind. Versus if we're grateful for what Krishna has given us, if we're grateful to be even able to chant Hare Krishna, then we will be in a happy state of mind. We shouldn't take our chanting for granted. So many people, they don't know how to chant. They don't know the names of Krishna. Did you have something else, Dustin? Okay. Jai. I'm thinking I want to elaborate on one more point. I did kind of stress, everyone around us is going to hell and things like that. But while that is true, we can also think optimistically that if I myself am a good devotee, then others around me will be benefited. It doesn't mean we have to get the whole sign out and it says, hell is hot, you're going there, kind of like the fire and brimstone preachers where we say, hey, Prabhu. Well, we wouldn't really call him Prabhu, or actually we could call him Prabhu. Everyone is our master, but we say, Mister, you're going to hell, right? But simply through being a good devotee, generations of our family are liberated. Simply through being a pure devotee ourselves, from being a nice devotee, even if we don't have to blatantly just be in their face and, be so pushy about it, simply by positive association, we can benefit people, and we actually make such a huge impact that we can't even perceive it. Even if we just chant in their vicinity, that has done so much, that's chopped off so much of the suffering that they were going to have, and we can't perceive it. We can't see it. This one devotee, he told me, I wish I followed this instruction, but he told me, whenever you chant very loudly so that all the grass can hear, all the bugs can hear, all the trees can hear, all the birds can hear, all the insects and the bacteria and the microbes and other people. And I would see him going and chanting japa around the temple, and you could hear him for like a block. It's like it's his japa, but he's chanting so loud. Why is he chanting so loud? Because he's not being selfish with the mantra. He's not being a hoarder. He's sharing it with those around him because he knows the benefit of it. Pramrita?
Hare Krishna. Cool class. I like this topic. Yeah, I'm just remembering my time in Krishnal's Gainesville, and I can think about that now here at Govinda's restaurant, but it was just very obvious there because people, for Krishna lunch, the college students, they line up all the way down the block. There's just hundreds of people in the line, and you're just sitting there maybe serving halava, and you're just giving a scoop of halava to everybody who comes through the line. And I just remember thinking like so clearly in my heart, like you get a human birth in your next life, you get a human birth in your next, like you've been saved from hell, so these people with these pitchforks or whatever, these signs that say, burn in hell, Jesus hates you, all of these things, hell is real and it's a very scary thing, but what are you actually doing to save these people? You're just making them feel scared and bad about it. Whereas like with prasadam distribution, literally they don't have to do anything. They just eat a yummy snack and they're literally saved from hell. Like, how incredible is that?
Yeah. All glories to Kalachandji's restaurant. Yeah. Food for life. Yeah. We don't know how much we help people and how much Krishna helps them. Ajit Prabhu?
Thank you, Prabhu. I just have a question. You mentioned about Prithvi Loka, and that Yamaraj lives there, and he's like the king of the pittas, and like I'm not following. I don't know, because it's like the forefathers, right? So I don't know how the two go along. That Yamaraj's planet and the planet of forefathers. So.
Yeah, this was the first time I ever discovered this morning when I was. I had to kind of switch out with the previous speaker, so I was reading it this morning, and I was like, oh, wow, I never knew that before. I feel like Gokul and Nandapur would have a good conclusion.
To be honest with you, I also got confused, because I always thought Pitraloka was a part of the heavenly planets. And this particular verse, the purport translation, right, it talks about the king of Pittas is Yamaraj, very powerful son of sun god. He resides in Pitraloka with his personal assistants. Sounds contradictory to me. I don't know.
Maybe it'll remain a mystery until...
I also heard Pitraloka is like a junction for those... it's a temporary kind of a... what's the word? Where the soul who has some pious credits and is still not being separated, like before going to Yamaraj, right? Yeah, so they're allowed to be there stay there for a short while, and then they proceed to their next destination. That's what I heard.
Yeah,
it's
sure. Described how many persons, they would want a good son, so that the son could perform these rites, so that the person who is in this purgatory type state, they could either be elevated or they could be... and if the son fails to perform these rites, it's said in the Bhagavad Gita, end of the first chapter, that if the rites aren't performed, then the family falls down and there's irreligion and things kind of fall apart. Mother Tammy?
Well, you're saying that we should be concerned about other people. And it says here that there are hundreds and thousands of hellish planets, and they must all be populated pretty well. So I'm wondering, I mean, I can't save anyone else if I'm going to hell myself. So, and there's so many sins listed here that I don't know too many people who aren't committing some of them. So my question is, how do you keep from feeling hopeless reading this chapter? How, instead of me focusing on, is that person going to go to hell? Like I say, I think, the focus should be more, what am I doing to keep myself from going to hell so that I can help someone else not go there?
Yeah.
So how do you keep from feeling hopeless when it's describing so many hellish planets and so many sins that'll get you there?
Srila Prabhupada, just sorry to jump in, Srila Prabhupada said we hope against hope. So we have hope against hope.
Jai. Yeah, so Krishna says, Neha Bikrama Nashosti. He says, wait, I'm not sure. Is that the right verse? Okay, yeah. He says, there's no loss, there's no diminution. So we can understand that as we have been practicing bhakti, Krishna does protect us from degrading into lower species of life. Why? Because he's trying to bring us closer to him. And to put us in the animal species would put us farther from him. So there is no going farther from Krishna, in a sense. We may stand still, we may freeze, we may say, I'm not walking anymore in this lifetime. I'm done walking towards you, Krishna. But there's no walking back. Krishna doesn't let us. So, but also to your point, we do want to qualify ourselves. We do want to focus on ourselves. I heard this story once, that there was this man walking down the beach and he saw like millions of tiny starfish on the beach. And so he would pick it up and he would throw one in the ocean and he'd keep walking with his friend. He'd pick another one up and throw it in the ocean and he'd keep walking with his friend. And his friend said, like, what are you doing? Like, there's like 1 million of them here. Like, why are you even bothering? Yeah, what difference does it make? And then he said, he picks up another one and he throws it and he says, it made a difference to that one. So, even just one person, even just one little starfish. I mean, we are a little starfish that's been helped out. But it makes the whole world a difference. Krishna is missing that one devotee who is in his pastimes, that little starfish. Even if we don't save the whole beach, even if we don't save the whole United States, the whole planet, even if we don't liberate the thousands of hellish planets, it's just like one little starfish. It's enough. It's described in the pastime of Dhruva Maharaj going back to Godhead. Srila Prabhupada writes in the purport that, in the purport of the one where his mother is going back to Godhead, because Dhruva Maharaj became a pure devotee, his mother also went with him, because his mother helped him, his mother instructed him. So Srila Prabhupada says, if there's just one disciple who goes back to Godhead, then our position will be guaranteed. Then we will have done our part, and that we will have, in a sense, not to say we earned it, but that is, that is kind of the result. If we can even just help one person, even just a little bit, just help them a tiny bit, just connect them with Krishna in some small, tiny, or if in a big way you can connect someone, that's even better. But yeah, just somehow it makes the world a difference. That tiny starfish who was drowning in the air when he got thrown back in the water. Any Ajit Prabhu, then Gokulananda.
You touched on it again, but I was hoping we can develop more on this, and how at the end of the purport, Prabhupada says that even in spite of repeated punishment by Yamaraj, they do not come to their senses, but continue to live within the material condition, committing sinful activities again and again. So I should have been breathing more. Anyways, that's an inside joke. So yeah, this seems to be a little bit contradictory to the concept of hell, because it's supposed to be that you kind of like you go to get reformed, you go to learn your lesson and not commit the same mistake again. But then it says, so, in what situation do they just keep repeating? In what situation do they get out of it and move on? Like, because here seems really like doomful, like it's like, and it seems to kind of like explain why Christians or even Muslims think that it's like eternal hell, because it almost seems like it's like eternal. It just you never learn your lesson. You just keep committing the same thing over and over again.
Yeah, I was later in the 6th canto. Narada Muni is speaking to I believe it's the Haryashvas. It's the sons of Daksha, and he describes that there's this hole. It's called like a bila or something, and that hole, it seems that no one ever comes out of it. Having once gone, so first he describes this kingdom that when once goes, they seemingly never return, and then he describes a hole in which one once goes, one seemingly never returns. So Prabhupada, he says that when one goes back to Godhead, it's very like they don't return. They've gone back to Godhead, and then hell. I can see how Christians can come to this conclusion that's eternal, because it's the text. It says that it's almost seldom seen that one comes out of that hole. I didn't really understand it so well as all of us, I assume, have. Well, I wouldn't say all of us, but at least myself, I would assume I've been to hell before. So, but back to your point. Sorry. Your point was, oh yeah, why do we not learn? Yeah, we're very stubborn, and it really takes mercy and surrender. It's it's almost like you're saying, we are doomed in this material world. We are hopelessly lost. We're hopelessly stuck in this cycle until a devotee comes in contact with us. Krishna says that it's impossible to overcome this ocean. With a drop of mercy from our spiritual master, we can escape this material world. And yeah, that's really, at the end of the day, that's the only way out. And so the purpose of this suffering, the purpose of these hellish conditions, whether they're the actual hellish planets or whether they're just hellish conditions on this earth, is that it's meant to squeeze some sincerity out of us. It's meant to... Burijan Prabhu has the meditation that he saw the sugarcane grinder in Vrindavan. You put the sugarcane in and these two wheels like crush it and juice comes out. So he says, may this grinder of the material life squeeze out a little bit of sincerity from me. So that's the purpose of these hellish conditions, of these hellish planets, is that we can sincerely look for the absolute truth, that we can sincerely surrender to a spiritual master when presented before us. Not that the suffering itself will cause us to be liberated. Hell itself won't rectify us enough to get out of the material world. It's only the mercy of the devotee that we can know Krishna and that we can escape. Even merging, we can't permanently stay out. Gokulananda, one final point.
As you were explaining about Prahlad Maharaj's compassion, it touched my heart, and I started thinking about what it takes for such great souls to think about others. Like even Jesus Christ, right? He's being adored by millions because he prayed for those who were inflicting pain upon him, and he prayed for them, for their deliverance. But then we also have another example in Chaitanya Charitamrita where Srila Prabhupada says, Jesus Christ prayed for those who were inflicting pain upon him, and he was just praying for them. But Vasudev Dutt, he was willing to take or undergo the reactions for the sinful actions of entire universe. And Lord Chaitanya said, well, because you are praying, they will be delivered, but then what's the point? all the universes are like a bag full of mustard seeds. And what good is that if there is just one seed out of those millions of seeds, being delivered? But I was thinking about, I don't have it, and that's the reason it was touching my heart. What it takes, how, I mean, unless the Lord, Supreme Lord empowers them, it is not possible to think, to be compassionate, genuinely feeling compassionate, and that is so much, that's why so much such souls are very dear to the Lord. They're always thinking about others, about their deliverance, like Srila Prabhupada, right? Otherwise, what need was there for him to go at the age of 70, to a foreign land? He was very well situated in Vrindavan, right? So just thinking about that quality, how can somebody churn on this point? How do we develop the compassion when I don't have any genuine compassion?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm going to jump in. You pray for that. We desire the desire. And if we don't have that desire, we desire the desire to desire. And it keeps going. And the causeless unwillingness that we have in the core of the heart that brought us here in the first place, we can ask to have it turned. Oh, no, it's okay. You're coming back to God. No, I'll stay here and rot. No, I mean, if you can go back to Godhead, and even in that envy in the core of the heart, you can pray that it becomes completely surrendered in love. Right? Isn't it? That's all we're doing when we're chanting Hare Krishna. Right? Am I right? Or sorry to jump in.
Yeah.
Your class is wonderful.
Yeah, thank you. I just remembered it was almost 3 years ago or something like that. I had just moved into the ashram. I was 16. I was rummaging around through the Bhagavatams, and I was looking at all the pictures, and I came to, let's see, I came to this picture right here, and it was actually the old BBT version, which is somehow, it's less realistic but more horrifying. So I looked at it, and I was like terrified. And this is something that I think perhaps many people who are born in the movement have, is that they don't know how bad it is out there. They don't know the hell that everyone is going through. And so it can be harder for people born in the movement to have this fervor in preaching. People who have been out in the material world, they're like, this saved my life. This has saved me. I was in hell before I came to Krishna consciousness. But sometimes people born in the movement, they perhaps miss that connection where it's like, it's just like, oh, this is life. Oh, you're not living life like this? Like, oh, I just go to the temple and stuff like that. But when I saw that, it gave me a lot of like compassion for others that I didn't know that somehow, you might hear it as a kid growing up. You might hear, oh, it's so scary out there. If you go to public school, the other kids are going to try to eat you and stuff like that. But yeah, it was I just remember that experience that helped me feel more compassion for people out there. But yeah, it is a matter of purity. Manjari Gopika for the final point.
Wonderful class, Prabhu. We have to end. I just thought of one thing. Gokulananda Prabhu made me think of it. Sometimes we do get overwhelmed reading about all the kinds of sins there are and all the reactions for each one of those sins, and then where people go because of that, and then how can we help so many people. But if we remember the example of Srila Prabhupada, he had so much confidence when he came to America. He had so much confidence that just simply saying Hare Krishna to someone and giving them prasadam was enough, and that each person would go back to Godhead. And so we should just carry that same enthusiasm and confidence within us.
Jai. Yeah, have faith in the process. Ganta Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, the hellish planets serving their purpose ki jai. Krishna's perfect system ki jai.
Kalindi Jamuna Jaya Jaya Mahamani Samukna Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Kalindi Jamuna Jaya Jaya Mahamani Jaya Radhe Jaya Jaya Vrindavan Shri Govinda Gopina Madana Mohan Jaya Radhe Jaya Krishna Jaya Vrindavan Shri Govinda Gopina Madana Mohan Radhabam Shri Mahatam Dada Sakha